The alarm bell rang through the USS Defiance at 3 in the morning. Captain Jake Morrison rolled out of his bed and grabbed his uniform. He had been sleeping badly for weeks now. Too many reports of dead colonies, too many ships that never came home. Morrison walked quickly through the metal halls of his ship. The Defiance was old, but strong. 15 years of fighting had left marks on her hull, but she had never run from a battle. Not once. The crew was proud of that record. The bridge was busy when Morrison arrived. His officers stood around the main screen, their faces serious. Commander Lisa Parker turned when she heard his footsteps. "Captain, we got a message from New Haven Colony," she said. Her voice was tight with worry. "It's bad." Morrison looked at the screen. The message was broken up, full of static, but he could hear the fear in the voice that came through. "This is New Haven calling any human ship. We are under attack. Unknown alien force. They're not like anything we've seen before. Our defenses are failing. They're killing everyone. Please help us, please." The message cut off into silence. "When did this come in?" Morrison asked. 20 minutes ago, said Lieutenant Commander Steve Baker from his position at the weapons station. "Hi, Command wants us to go look and report back." Morrison nodded slowly. He knew what that meant. Go look, see how bad it is, then run home to tell everyone what happened. Just like all the other ships that had been sent to check on dead colonies. "What do we know about this alien force?" Morrison asked. Parker pulled up a star map on the screen. Red dots marked dead human worlds. There were too many of them. They called themselves the Hegemony, started hitting our outer colonies 6 months ago. Every world they attack goes silent within hours. "What about the ships we sent to help?" Morrison asked, though he already knew the answer. "All lost," Baker said quietly. 17 ships at the last colony. Nothing left but wreckage. Morrison stared at the red dots on the map. Each one had been home to thousands of people. Families, children, all gone now. "Sir," said Lieutenant Sandra Hayes from the communications station. "High Command is waiting for our answer." Morrison looked around his bridge. These people had served with him for years. They trusted him to make the right choice. But what was the right choice when every option led to death? He thought about the motto carved above the bridge door. "We hold the line." Those words had been put there by the first captain of the Defiance. Every captain since had lived by them. "Get me Chief Rodriguez in engineering," Morrison said. A few minutes later, Tony Rodriguez appeared on the screen. The chief engineer looked tired. He always looked tired these days. Keeping an old ship running was hard work. "Chief, how's our girl doing?" Morrison asked. Rodriguez smiled a little. "She's got some rust and her engines make noise, but she'll fight when you need her to." "Good. We might need her to fight soon." Morrison turned to Dr. Amy Sullivan, who had just arrived on the bridge. The ship's doctor looked calm, but Morrison could see worry in her eyes. "Doc, how's the crew?" he asked. "Ready for whatever comes," she said. "But Jake, they're scared. We all are. These aliens, they don't leave survivors." Morrison nodded. He was scared too. Any smart person would be scared. But fear was not the same as giving up. "Lisa, get me shipwide communications," he said. Parker pressed some buttons on her station. "You're on, Captain." Morrison took a deep breath. Throughout the ship, 800 crew members stopped what they were doing to listen. They knew something big was coming. "This is the captain speaking," Morrison began. "We've received orders to investigate the attack on New Haven Colony. You've all heard the reports about these aliens. You know what happened to the other ships that went to help." He paused, thinking about his words carefully. "I won't lie to you. This mission will be dangerous. These aliens are stronger than us. They have better weapons and bigger ships. Any smart commander would refuse this mission." Morrison looked around the bridge. His officers were watching him, waiting. "But we're not just any ship. We're the Defiance. We've never run from a fight, and we won't start now. Those people on New Haven are calling for help. They're counting on us." He thought about all the battles they had won together. all the times they had faced impossible odds and found a way to win. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But fear doesn't change our duty. We swore an oath to protect human space. That oath doesn't have small print about only fighting when we can win. Morrison's voice grew stronger as he spoke. The motto above our bridge door says, "We hold the line." That's not just words on metal. That's a promise. A promise that somewhere, in this galaxy, there's a line that evil cannot cross. Today, we are that line. The ship was quiet except for the hum of the engines. Morrison could feel his crew thinking about his words. "I won't order anyone to come with me on this mission," he said. "Anyone who wants to transfer off can do so when we reach the next starbase. But if you stay knowing we might not come home. You stay knowing we'll fight even if we can't win." He looked at each of his bridge officers. They looked back, with steady eyes. "This is our choice," Morrison said. "We can follow orders and run when things get bad. Or we can honor our oath and show these aliens what humans do when their backs are against the wall." Morrison paused one last time. "All hands prepare for departure. We're going to New Haven. And we're going to fight." The communications channel closed. Morrison looked around his bridge. Not one officer had asked to be transferred. They were staying, all of them. "Lisa, set course for New Haven," Morrison said. "Best speed." "Course set, Captain," Parker replied. "Take us out." The USS Defiance turned toward the dark space where New Haven waited. Behind them, Earth grew smaller. Ahead lay an enemy that had never been defeated, but the ship that never retreated was flying toward battle once again, carrying 800 souls who had chosen duty over safety. The iron vow had been made. Now it was time to keep it. The USS Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Haven system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen. What he saw made his stomach turn cold. 17 human ships floated dead in space. Their hulls were torn open like someone had used a giant can opener on them. The metal edges glowed with a strange blue light that hurt to look at. "My God," whispered Commander Lisa Parker. She had seen many battles, but nothing like this. Lieutenant Commander Steve Baker was running scans on his tactical station. His face was pale as he read the numbers. "Captain, those ships were destroyed by weapons we've never seen before. Your energy readings are off the charts." Morrison walked closer to the screen. Each dead ship had been home to hundreds of people. Good people who had answered New Haven's call for help. Now they were all gone. "What about the colony?" Morrison asked. Lieutenant Sandra Hayes adjusted her communications equipment. "I'm picking up some life signs on the planet, but they're weak. Most of the colony is gone." On the screen, New Haven burned with the same blue fire that marked the destroyed ships. The flames seemed to eat everything they touched, turning buildings and trees into nothing. "Sir," said Baker, his voice tight. "I'm reading 3 large ships on the far side of the system. They're bigger than anything in our fleet." The alien ships appeared on the screen. They were black as space itself, seeming to swallow light rather than reflect it. They moved through the wreckage like hunting animals, slow and sure of themselves. Morrison felt his crew watching him. They were waiting for orders. Any normal captain would order a retreat. These aliens had destroyed 17 ships without losing a single vessel of their own. "How big are those ships?" Morrison asked. Baker checked his readings again. "Each one is twice the size of our biggest battleship. Their weapon systems are beyond anything we have. Captain, we can't fight those things." Morrison nodded slowly. The smart thing would be to turn around and run, report back to High Command about what they had found. Let someone else figure out how to stop these aliens, but Morrison thought about the promise carved above the bridge door. "We hold the line." He thought about all the dead crews floating in space. They had tried to hold the line too. "Chief Rodriguez, report to the bridge," Morrison said into his communicator. A few minutes later, Tony Rodriguez arrived. The chief engineer looked at the screen and whistled low. "Those are some big ships, Captain." "Can we fight them?" Morrison asked. Rodriguez scratched his head. Our weapons won't even scratch their hulls from what I can see. But maybe if we combine our nuclear missiles with power from the main reactor, we could make something that might hurt them. What would that do to our ship? Morrison asked. It would use up everything we have, Rodriguez said honestly. After that, we'd be flying on backup power with no weapons. Morrison looked around his bridge. His officers were listening to every word. They knew what Rodriguez was talking about. A one-shot weapon that would leave them helpless. How long would you need? Morrison asked. Give me 2 hours and I can rig something up, Rodriguez said. But Captain, this is crazy. Even if we destroy one of their ships, the other two will kill us. Morrison walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the alien vessels. They were moving closer now, probably curious about the new human ship that had arrived. All hands, this is the captain, Morrison said into the ship-wide communications. We found the enemy that destroyed New Haven. They're bigger and stronger than us. They have weapons we can't match. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Some of you might think we should run. Report back to Earth and let them send a bigger fleet. That would be the smart thing to do. Morrison thought about all the colonies that had called for help, all the ships that had been sent and never returned. But while we're running home and waiting for help, how many more colonies will burn? How many more ships will die? The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the engines and the beeping of instruments. The aliens down there don't know about mercy, Morrison continued. They don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They just destroy everything human they find. Today, we're all that stands between them and the next colony. Morrison looked at each of his bridge officers. They looked back with steady eyes, waiting for his decision. I won't order you to stay, Morrison said. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle back to the nearest starbase. But I'm staying. This ship is staying. We're going to show these aliens that humans don't give up. Dr. Amy Sullivan stepped forward. Captain, I've been analyzing the wreckage. These aliens don't just destroy things. They take something from each world they attack, something that leaves the space around dead planets feeling empty and wrong. What do you mean? Morrison asked. I think they feed on death and fear, Sullivan said. The terror of dying worlds gives them power, but courage, sacrifice, those things might actually hurt them. Morrison felt something click in his mind. You mean our willingness to fight might be more important than our weapons? Maybe, Sullivan said. I need more time to study it, but yes. Chief Rodriguez was already heading for the door. I'll get started on that weapon, Captain. If we're going to die, let's make it count. Morrison turned back to the screen. The alien ships were getting closer. In a few hours, they would be in weapons range. Lisa, start rescue operations for any survivors on the planet, Morrison ordered. Steve, prepare all weapon systems. Sandra, send a message to High Command. Tell them what we found here. What should I tell them about our plans? Hayes asked. Morrison smiled grimly. Tell them the Defiance is holding the line. As his crew rushed to their duties, Morrison stayed on the bridge, watching the alien ships approach. They moved like they owned the galaxy, like nothing could stop them. Maybe they were right. Maybe the Defiance was just another ship that would die in this system. But Morrison had made a promise, and he intended to keep it. The ship that never retreated was about to face its greatest test. Win or lose, they would show the galaxy that some things were worth fighting for, even when you couldn't win. The battle alarm sounded through the USS Defiance at dawn, ship time. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the 3 alien ships move toward them like black sharks in the dark water of space. All stations report ready, said Commander Lisa Parker. Her voice was calm, but Morrison could see her hands shaking slightly. Chief Tony Rodriguez had worked through the night. His modified weapon was ready, but it would only work once. After that, the Defiance would be helpless. Distance to target? Morrison asked. Lieutenant Commander Steve Baker checked his screens. 50,000 kilometers and closing. They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Morrison looked at the wreckage field around them. 17 human ships had died here, but their sacrifice might help the Defiance survive a little longer. The broken hulls would provide cover and maybe confuse the alien sensors. "Take us into the wreckage field," Morrison ordered. "Use the dead ships as shields." "Sir, that's dangerous," said the helmsman. "One wrong move and we'll crash into something." "Better to die trying than to die waiting," Morrison replied. "Do it." The Defiance moved carefully between the floating pieces of destroyed ships. Morrison could see names painted on the hulls as they passed: the Courage, the New Dawn, the Liberty Bell. Each one had carried hundreds of brave people who had come to help New Haven. "Sir," said Lieutenant Sandra Hayes from Communications, "I'm getting something strange from the alien ships. It's not words or sounds. It's pictures in my head." Morrison felt it too. Images flooded his mind without warning. He saw worlds burning under blue fire. He saw cities turn to ash in seconds. He saw billions of people screaming as something vast and hungry consumed their very souls. Dr. Amy Sullivan stumbled on the bridge, holding her head. "Captain, they're trying to break us with fear. That's how they fight. They make us so scared we can't think straight." "Everyone focus on your jobs," Morrison ordered. "Don't let them get into your heads." But the images kept coming. Morrison saw the alien ships moving from world to world, destroying everything human they found. He saw Earth itself burning, its cities melting under alien weapons. "They want us to run," Morrison said through gritted teeth. "They want us to be so scared we forget how to fight." The first alien ship fired its weapons. Beams of pure darkness cut through space toward the Defiance. Morrison watched the energy blasts tear apart a piece of wreckage that had been blocking their path. "Return fire," Morrison ordered. The Defiance's weapons hit the alien ship's shields and bounced off like raindrops hitting a window. The alien vessel didn't even slow down. "Our weapons aren't doing anything," Baker reported. "Their shields are too strong." Another blast from the alien ship hit the Defiance directly. The bridge shook violently, and sparks flew from damaged control panels. The lights flickered and went out for a moment before emergency power kicked in. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported an engineer over the communicator. "We've lost atmosphere in 3 sections. Morrison felt his ship dying around him. In just 2 minutes of fighting, they had taken more damage than in most full battles. But he wasn't ready to give up. "Chief Rodriguez, how's that special weapon coming?" Morrison asked. Rodriguez's voice came through the communicator, tight with stress. "Almost ready, Captain, but I need you to get us close to one of their ships. Real close." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The nearest alien ship was still 20,000 kilometers away. Their weapons could reach that far, but Rodriguez's modified weapon needed to be delivered almost by hand. "We're going to ram them," Morrison said quietly. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. They would have to fly straight at the alien ship, taking hit after hit, hoping they could get close enough before their ship was destroyed. "Sir," said Parker, "that's suicide." "Maybe," Morrison said. "But it's our only chance to hurt them." He turned to the helmsman. "Set course for the nearest alien ship. Full speed." "Full speed, aye," the helmsman replied. The Defiance burst out of the wreckage field like an angry hornet. All 3 alien ships turned their weapons on the small human vessel. Energy beams cut through space, each one powerful enough to destroy a city. Morrison held onto his command chair as the ship bucked and rolled under the alien attack. "Damage report. We've lost shields," Baker called out. "Hull armor is failing." "Life support is offline on 6 decks. The Defiance kept flying toward the alien ship. Morrison could see it growing larger on the screen, a mountain of black metal that seemed to swallow light itself. Its weapons fired again and again, tearing pieces off the human ship. "Dr. Sullivan to bridge," came the doctor's voice over the communicator. "Sick bay is full. I've got 40 wounded and more coming." "Chief Rodriguez, we need that weapon now," Morrison said. 30 more seconds, Rodriguez replied. "Hold us together for 30 more seconds." The alien ship was close now, so close Morrison could see details on its hull. Strange symbols glowed with the same blue fire that had destroyed New Haven. The alien vessel was preparing to fire its main weapon, the one that would finish the Defiance completely. "Now, Chief," Morrison shouted. Rodriguez triggered his modified weapon. All of the Defiance's nuclear missiles fired at once, combined with energy from the ship's main reactor. The combined blast was brighter than a sun, lighting up the entire battle area. The alien ship's shields held for a moment, then flickered and failed. The nuclear fire reached the enemy vessel's hull and kept going, burning through armor that had seemed invincible just seconds before. The alien ship exploded in a ball of light that could be seen from the planet below. For the first time in months, a hegemony vessel had been destroyed. But victory came with a terrible price. The Defiance was crippled, drifting in space with most of its systems dead. Half the crew was wounded or dead. The other two alien ships were moving in for the kill. Morrison looked around his damaged bridge. They had proven the aliens could be beaten, but now they were helpless. The ship that never retreated was about to make its final stand. The USS Defiance drifted in space like a wounded animal. Half her lights were out and air leaked from dozens of holes in her hull. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the damaged corridors checking on his crew. The medical bay was full of wounded sailors. Dr. Amy Sullivan worked without stopping, moving from bed to bed. Her clothes were covered in blood, but she kept saving lives even as the ship shook around her. "How many?" Morrison asked quietly. Sullivan looked up from a wounded engineer. Her eyes were red with exhaustion. 230 dead, another 150 wounded. "We lost good people, Jake." Morrison nodded. Each death felt like a punch to his stomach. These people had trusted him to lead them, and now they were gone. But they had died fighting, and their sacrifice had destroyed an alien ship that seemed impossible to kill. Commander Lisa Parker met Morrison in the main corridor. Her uniform was torn, and she had a bandage on her forehead. "Engineering report. Captain, we've got partial power back, but our weapons are gone. Life support is working on half the ship." Morrison looked through a window at the two remaining alien ships. They were moving closer, but something was different about them. They seemed uncertain, like predators that had just learned their prey could bite back. "Why aren't they attacking?" Morrison asked. Parker shook her head. "I don't know. They've been circling us for 2 hours, but they haven't fired a shot." Morrison went to the bridge. The command center was a mess of broken equipment and emergency lights. Lieutenant Commander Steve Baker was working at his damaged tactical station, trying to understand what the aliens were doing. "Captain, you need to see this," Baker said. "The alien ships are scanning the wreckage of their destroyed companion. They've been doing it over and over like they can't believe it's really gone." Morrison studied the tactical display. The alien behavior was strange. Before the battle, they had moved with complete confidence. Now they seemed confused and cautious. Lieutenant Sandra Hayes looked up from her communications station. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions between the alien ships. It's not in any language I know, but the computer is trying to translate." "What does it say?" Morrison asked. Hayes frowned at her screen. "It's hard to make out, but they keep using a word that might mean impossible or never happened before." Dr. Sullivan arrived on the bridge, still wearing her bloody medical coat. "Captain, I've been studying the alien weapon residue from our damaged sections. I think I understand something important." Morrison turned to listen. Sullivan had been working on understanding the aliens since they first arrived at New Haven. "These creatures don't just destroy civilizations," Sullivan said. "They feed on the fear and despair of dying worlds. That's how they get their power. But our willingness to fight, to sacrifice ourselves, it's like poison to them." Morrison thought about this. "You mean they've never faced anyone who fought back without fear?" "Exactly," Sullivan said. "Every other species probably ran or surrendered when they saw how powerful the aliens were. But we didn't. We charged straight at them knowing we would probably die." Baker looked up from his station. "That might explain why they're not attacking. They don't know how to handle an enemy that isn't afraid." Morrison felt a spark of hope. Maybe they had a chance after all. But first, they needed help. The Defiance was too damaged to fight another battle. "Sandra, can you get a message to any human ships in the area?" Morrison asked. Hayes worked at her communications panel for several minutes. I'm sending on all frequencies, but I don't know if anyone will hear us. Morrison waited. The alien ships continued their slow circles, scanning and sending messages to each other. They seemed to be arguing about what to do next. Then Hayes sat up straight. Captain, I'm getting responses. Multiple ships are changing course toward us. How many? Morrison asked. Hayes listened to her equipment. 12, 15, 20 ships so far. More are joining every minute. Morrison couldn't believe it. Where are they coming from? Everywhere, Hayes said with excitement in her voice. Merchant ships, patrol boats, even some civilian vessels. Word about our fight is spreading through human space. On the main screen, the first reinforcements appeared. They were small ships mostly, nothing that could match the alien vessels in a fair fight. But they kept coming, arriving one by one from different directions. Captain Ruth Barnes of the merchant ship Prosperity was the first to make contact. Defiance, this is Captain Barnes. We heard you took down one of those alien monsters. We're here to help finish the job. More voices came over the radio. Captains and crews from across human space, all volunteering to join the fight. Some were military vessels, but many were just ordinary people who had heard about the battle and decided they couldn't stay home while others fought for humanity's survival. Morrison looked at the growing fleet on his tactical display. None of these ships were built for war. Most of them would probably die in the coming battle. But they had come anyway because they believed in the same thing he did. Chief Tony Rodriguez limped onto the bridge, his arm in a sling. Captain, I've been working on our power systems. I can give you engines and maybe some of our defensive screens, but that's all. Morrison nodded. That's enough, Chief. We're not running anyway. The alien ships had noticed the arriving human vessels. They stopped their slow circling and began to move into attack formation. The time for waiting was over. Morrison activated ship-wide communications. All hands, this is the captain. Help has arrived. Ships from across human space are joining our fight. We're not alone anymore. He paused, looking around the damaged bridge at his loyal crew. We started something here today. We showed the galaxy that humans don't give up. Now we're going to finish it. Outside, nearly 40 human ships formed up around the crippled Defiance. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something the aliens didn't understand. They had chosen to be here, chosen to fight for something bigger than themselves. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle began when the sun rose over New Haven. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the damaged bridge of the USS Defiance, watching 43 human ships form up around his crippled vessel. They came from all corners of human space, ready to fight an enemy they had never seen before. The two remaining alien ships moved forward like black storms in space. Each one was still larger and more powerful than anything the humans had. But something had changed. The aliens no longer moved with the same confidence they had shown before. All ships, this is Captain Morrison of the Defiance, he said into his communicator. We've learned these aliens feed on fear. Don't give them what they want. Fight with courage, and we can win this. Captain Ruth Barnes of the merchant ship Prosperity responded first. We're with you, Defiance. Let's show these things what humans are made of. Other voices joined in. Patrol boat captains, freight haulers, even civilian volunteers who had never fired a weapon in anger. They all had one thing in common. They refused to let the aliens destroy another human world without a fight. The alien ships opened fire first. Their dark energy beams cut through space, destroying the patrol boat's swift current in a single shot. 12 good people died in that instant, but the other human ships didn't retreat. Instead, they charged forward. Morrison coordinated the attack from his damaged bridge. Chief Tony Rodriguez had managed to restore some of their systems, turning the Defiance into a command center for the entire fleet. Small ships attack pattern Delta, Morrison ordered. Use your speed to confuse their targeting. Larger vessels concentrate fire on their weapon ports. The human fleet spread out like a swarm of angry bees. The aliens were used to fighting large organized fleets that moved in predictable patterns. They didn't know how to handle dozens of small ships attacking from every direction. Captain Dan, Miller of the freight hauler Hard Work managed to slip past the alien defenses. His ship wasn't built for war, but his cargo hold was full of mining explosives. He flew straight at one of the alien vessels, ignoring the energy beams that tore through his hull. "This is for New Haven," Miller said over the radio as his ship disappeared in a ball of fire that damaged the alien vessel's main weapon. Dr. Amy Sullivan worked frantically in the Defiance's medical bay as wounded arrived from other ships. The fleet was taking heavy losses, but they kept fighting. Each ship that died weakened the aliens a little more. "Captain," said Lieutenant Sandra Hayes from Communications, "I'm monitoring the alien transmissions. They're getting weaker." "Doctor," Sullivan was right. "Our courage is hurting them somehow." Morrison watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. The freight ship Honest Effort, commanded by Captain Lisa Chang, had lost most of her hull but kept firing her jury-rigged weapons. The patrol boat Desert Wind flew in circles around an alien ship, too small and fast for the big weapons to hit. But the aliens were still winning. For every alien ship damaged, 3 human vessels were destroyed. The space around New Haven filled with the wreckage of brave ships and braver crews. Then something unexpected happened. The mining ship Rocky Mountain, captained by an old man named Bill Thompson, broke through the alien defenses. Thompson had been hauling ore in space for 30 years. He knew how to fly a ship better than anyone. "I'm making a run at their power core," Thompson said calmly over the radio. "Tell my wife I love her." The Rocky Mountain disappeared into the alien ship's defensive fire. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the second alien dreadnought exploded in a flash of light that lit up the entire system. The remaining alien ship tried to retreat, but the human fleet surrounded it. Ships that should have been running for their lives instead pressed their attack. The alien vessel's weapons grew weaker with each passing minute, as if the crew's determination was draining its power. Commander Lisa Parker looked up from her station on the Defiance's bridge. "Captain, that last ship is sending a signal. It's asking for mercy." Morrison thought about New Haven burning below them. He thought about the 17 ships that had died trying to protect the colony. He thought about all the human worlds that had been destroyed by these creatures. "No mercy," Morrison said quietly. "Not for them." The final alien ship died under the combined fire of 20 human vessels. Its hull cracked open like an egg, spilling strange blue light into space before going dark forever. The battle was over. Of the 43 ships that had joined the fight, only 18 survived. But they had done something that seemed impossible just hours before. They had defeated the hegemony. Morrison sat in his command chair looking at the tactical display that showed the wreckage of the alien fleet. His ship would never fly again, and hundreds of good people had died in the battle. But they had won. "Captain," said Hayes from Communications, "I'm getting messages from all over human space. Word of our victory is spreading. Every human world is celebrating." Morrison nodded tiredly. The cost had been terrible, but they had proven something important. Humanity would not go quietly into the dark. When faced with an enemy that seemed unbeatable, humans would stand and fight. Years later, historians would write about the Battle of New Haven. They would study the tactics and analyze the alien technology. But the real lesson was simpler than any of that. Sometimes the greatest victory doesn't come from being stronger or smarter than your enemy. Sometimes it comes from refusing to give up, even when giving up makes sense. The USS Defiance would never fly again, but her name lived on. Every human warship built afterward carried the same motto carved into its hull: "We hold the line." Captain Jake Morrison kept his promise. The ship that never retreated had held the line when it mattered most. The iron vow was complete.